I've always been interested in nature. I want myself and my future children to also be able to enjoy nature.
I think there's a lot of eco-anxiety, there's a lot of paralysis, there's a lot of, oh, the problem's too big, I can't solve it. And what I want to instill in my children and in the next generation, hopefully, is that we can make a change. We have to make a change. So let's be positive and do all that we can in the time that we have.
You can integrate action towards reducing climate change regardless of what type of business you're in.
One person can't change the entire world, but a collection of people can help us get there.
I'm South African, so I was born and raised in South Africa. I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Pretoria in industrial engineering, so very far away from sustainability at that point.
I'm from Manila, Philippines. I was born and raised there. I did take an undergrad, so I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy from the Ateneo de Manila University.
I grew up in a small town in Ontario, Canada, and I was the first person from my family to go to university or to graduate from university. So I studied business, a four-year degree, and then went out into the work world.
I'm from Lebanon. I was born actually in Saudi. My parents were working there. I was raised in Lebanon until I was 18. I then left to Qatar and studied there petroleum engineering. And then after that I joined the oil and gas industry, been working there for around 10 years.
And I got into supply chain consulting. That was my first job, first part of my career. So started as a demand planner, supply planner, production planner, all those sort of planning type roles.
Currently, I am working within the logistics and packaging company, but more in like the cardboard box, import-export kind of like packaging. It's a family business and I'm one of the directors of the company.
From a corporate point of view, I worked for some Fortune 500 companies as well as startups. I've also been an entrepreneur. I've had 3 different companies, and I've most recently gone back and started teaching at a college in British Columbia, Canada, teaching marketing and communications.
When I was 10 or 11 years old, I went on a campaign at my school to eliminate the use of styrofoam. There was this big thing about chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, and how styrofoam contributes to the hole in the ozone layer. I was very indignant as a 10-year-old. I thought to myself, this is something I've always loved, something I've always been interested in. How do I get into the space? How do I make a shift in my career? How do I add value?
My husband, his company was starting their first ESG report, and I remember thinking, I don't know what that is.
There was a pivot that happened, mostly born out of financial reasons. Internally, we have a lot of like industrial pallets that we need, you know, and the state in the Philippines is we import those pallets. We came across someone who was a scientist and he was very interested in coconuts because coconuts are, you know, a booming industry in the Philippines. We kind of pieced one and one together because he was trying to experiment with coconut-derived material. And we said, you know, we have a material that we're having a hard time sourcing. It's something we have to import and it's something that's not very cheap. Is there something we can do about it?
As an engineer, I do believe in finding solutions within any industry in order to make it either less costly or more environmentally friendly. The reality is whenever we think we don't have an ability to change, on a mass scale, then yes, obviously nothing would change. But if on a mass scale, if everyone believes in a bit of change, that accumulates, and I believe in that.
We know that, you know, the end of apartheid didn't happen all at once, right? It was a gradual building of that movement and growing pushback against the government, and it started with individuals, it started in communities that then came together to build this greater narrative that then caused, you know, a whole regime change in a country.
With teaching, there's a multiplier effect, and I thought what sort of legacy I could leave and how I could make a bigger impact as one person. And I thought, well, if I can teach sustainability to hundreds of students in a class and then they go out into the world and they implement some of those strategies, my difference as one person has multiplied, you know, exponentially.
I love Katharine Hayhoe, and I've read her book on this, and I think the thing that she says, which I agree with and believe in as well, is that individual action, it might not count like if just one person does it, but then one person does it, then another person does it, then another person does it, and individual action becomes large-scale change that can impact a community and that can impact a country and that can impact global policy. A lot of these conversations come up about how do I make my job a climate job? How do I make my job relevant? I don't have to go into another industry. I'm in the supply chain. The supply chain has a huge impact on sustainability and on climate change.
Within my job, I can track greenhouse gas emissions that are being done. When I track them, then I can find solutions to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. I can find technologies to help change the design to a more environmentally friendly installation or something.
Especially with small and medium sized enterprises, they don't have a sustainability officer necessarily. They don't have a sustainability department. So looking for ways, asking people, you know, how are we dealing with our environmental impacts? Are we thinking about it? What about our social impacts? Are we thinking about that? Who's in charge of that in the company? And you may find that de facto you can end up being a key player in that because it hasn't been formalized.
Every job is a climate job. So what I'm thinking about now at the moment is not necessarily a change into a corporate sustainability role, but it's how do I bring aspects of climate change, of sustainability into my current job. Now there are ways that you can track the carbon emissions of your transport, right? So in my job, can I bring some of that in? Can I encourage that we choose tools that have carbon emissions tracking included?
I don't believe that you have to change your job to do a change. On the contrary, I think you have to remain within your job and make that change within. I do believe in that. You can provide sales for whatever business you're doing, but mention those search for what products are being provided in the market that is more sustainable or more environmentally friendly. As an engineer, you can always work on design, you can work on tracking, you can work on monitoring.
And the more people talk about it, the more interest will be generated. And maybe those who actually have the power to make these big changes will start listening.
My ultimate goal is that we don't have sustainable marketing courses, that sustainability is integrated into marketing. If we look back at digital marketing, that's a good way to look at what we're facing.
This is the decade of nature restoration, and I think this is the time that we have to make a huge impact. Every single person, the companies where we work, the communities that we're in, politically, personally, there's so much that we can do to make a change.
From my short span of life so far, I've already noticed the difference climate change have done on our planet. You could feel that the temperatures in the summer are slightly higher every year. The amount of forestry is less every year. The areas where you can go hiking or the period of time that you can go skiing is shortened. And I want to do something that can help prevent that. And I think we are all kind of small forces in mitigating and making a change to help our planet.